Volume.com is a free platform with live stream performances, concert broadcasts, and a video archive that includes performances by 311, Brothers Osborne, Waylon Jennings, Phil Lesh, Sheryl Crow, and more.
That's basically it.
1, 2, 3.
Alrighty, let's go. Yes, we are back. It's time for season 2 of Shred with Shifty and dig all these incredible interviews that we've got coming up for you. We've got in the can Derek Trucks, Molly Tuttle, Keith Urban, Michael frickin' Schenker, and many, many more. We've been working hard all summer long getting this season 2 together for you. But today's episode is really, really special. I'd say it's kind of a blockbuster. But before we get into that, let's do a little housekeeping. Remember, you can always watch ad-free versions of the show over on volume.com/shifty. And while you're at it, make sure you follow me on all my various social media accounts and go to my website, sign up for my mailing list. And I can just, flood your email inbox with idiotic nonsense. Sounds like a plan. Let's go. All right, so today's interview is really special for me because it's with my friends and bandmates in the Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl and Pat Smear. So first off, I just want to say thanks to the boys for coming down and taking the time to do this when we were home between tours earlier this year. And I don't think either one of them have ever done an interview quite like this, like a deep dive on their guitar playing and gear and tone and all the little secret formulas to the Foo Fighter magic sauce. And getting ready for it, I had a little trepidation, like, what do I ask these guys that I know so much about already? But I actually learned a ton. So let's get into it. This is Dave Grohl and Pat Smear on Shred with Shifty. All righty, fellas, let's jump into it. You're in the hot seat now.
Oh God, here we go.
It's payback time.
Oh, no.
Let's start off easy. What are you playing today?
This is my signature DG335 Epiphone.
Yeah.
And it's fucking rad.
Love it.
Playing it on tours.
It's not even out.
Is it not out yet?
No, only
I don't know
For the
these
sake
things.
of this interview, it might be out by the time this airs. So
I don't know.
because we might be in a time machine.
that
here.
fast?
How long has it been since you? What did you do? 2 runs of the Gibson?
I don't know.
But it's been a minute since it came out.
He's kind of like my
We might need
consigliere.
Alan. We might need
People
Alan.
don't know.
Yeah,
Pat
yeah.
he's my consigliere too
Yeah.
for all things like
Pat
guitar
knows more about
knowledge.
guitars than most people.
Most people. Yeah.
Much of it wrong.
How did you go from being a guy who famously borrowed guitars at Germs gigs, didn't own one of your own, to the man we see here today with a barn full of guitars?
That's why, because I didn't even have my own guitar. So I'm like, well, now I need 2.
100. 2,000. Yeah. What are you playing today?
I am playing prototype number 1, made by Mike McGuire from the Gibson shop.
Is that a Gibson copy of a Greco?
It's a mini Kessel prototype from 2011. From May 11th, 2011.
Where's the Pat Smear signature Hagstrom?
Right? On tour. Okay. It's on tour.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a few of them out there.
Do you also have a baritone back there, I see?
I do. My Hagstrom baritones are on tour, so that's my SG baritone. It's a funny guitar. I'm told that it was originally going to be a Buckethead model, his new model. And he just disappeared. So they said, well, we'll put it out as a baritone.
He flew the coop?
Why? Because it's like he plays a giant guitar or something? Right.
And with a
Scaled
long
up
scale.
Right.
So it's baritone scale.
Why did you land, when you first came back to Foos, why did you land on a baritone so much of the time? Had you played much baritone prior to that?
No, I never played one. Well, I played one a little bit. I played one on the Color and the Shape album. That sounded great, but I never played it live. But then there's what am I going to do? There's already 2 guitar players. When we were doing Wasting Light, I'm like, where am I going to fit in here?
Of the Foo Fighters.
Yeah. So I thought, nobody's playing baritone. I'll pull that out.
Okay, what made you, I asked everybody a version of this, but what made you guys want to be guitar players in the first place? Because probably a lot of people don't know the guitar actually came before drums, right?
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
There was just a guitar in the house. And my mom bought my father was a classically trained flautist. And my mother bought him like a nylon string classical guitar thing, which I don't think he ever played, but it sat in the corner of the room like a piece of furniture. And by the time I got to it, I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old, and it maybe had 2 or 3 strings on it. But I picked it up and played like Smoke on the Water or something like that. Just, I understood where to put my hands and the frets and things. And then I was like, wow, this is cool.
And just kind of by ear?
By ear.
Did you ever take lessons?
I took a few lessons when I first started playing. And I was really disappointed because I wanted to learn how to play chords so I could play along to things because I could hear the songs and sort of figure them out. But I was stuck with like single note, just getting my little kid stuff together. And then the teacher started to try to teach me like classical. Like I remember like he taught me this thing. Wait, was it?
Well, it worked.
It worked. It's still there.
But I was like, fuck that shit.
That's, you know, I took classical lessons when I first started too, because Yngwie Malmsteen and Randy Rosen, we talked about but I couldn't put it together like how that, when I did it, it didn't sound like an Yngwie Malmsteen record. So I kind of quickly figured out that was not
Did you have scalloped frets? Because I feel like you need to scallop.
That's the problem on my gut string. What about you? What made you want to be a guitar?
It's kind of the same thing. Was it? Oh, no, for me, it was my sister Ingrid, a couple years older. She had a nylon string acoustic guitar in the house. I had those forced piano lessons when I was a kid, and I would cry through the whole thing. I hated it so much. And then I picked up the guitar, and I'm like, oh, well, that's my thing. But it was really love it to death. That picture on the back cover. There was the record. I'm like, I want to do this. And then that back picture, I want to play that. And so.
It's funny how that still informs your guitar choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll insert a picture of that here. Who would you consider your primary guitar influences? Who were the guys that you looked up to, guys or gals or whatever, that made you want to do it?
I really liked Ace Frehley. Like, I mean, I had a Beatles chord book, and that's where I was learning to play chords and stuff. But I I never saw footage of the Beatles playing when I was 8 or 9 or something like that. Yeah. But I'd Kiss posters, and then I had seen like Kiss concert stuff online. I just thought Ace Frehley was so fucking cool looking.
Yes.
And I loved the way
Agreed.
he stood, and I loved his Les Paul, and I thought he was kind of my first. Like if I could be a guitarist and look like him without all the fucking heels and the makeups and shit.
So
I'd be
how he looks today.
Like current day, which I think I do.
Well, I just interviewed him the other week. You're maybe a little more together than he is at this point, but hey, Ace is still the king. Ace is still the king, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know that I had one. I had a bunch. I had all the usual ones, but maybe I thought Mick Ronson was the coolest. But as far as the playing, it was the Alice Cooper guys.
Right. Yeah. Would you guys sit there and like try to figure out off the records what those guys were doing?
All the time. And my mom had a tape recorder. She was a singer, and she had a tape recorder that you could slow it down to half speed. So that's how I learned to play. Because at half speed is the same key. So I just do things half speed. And, that's how am I going to play the solo on Stairway to Heaven? Half speed.
Did you guys have this? When did you figure out that you needed a certain kind of gear to make that? It sounded like the record.
It's funny because then I got my mother bought me a Silvertone, like an old
Right.
one, Sears, with the amp in the case and everything. And it was cool, but I found out about a distortion pedal.
Right.
I don't know how, but I think I was in the music store and I saw one. And I said to my mom, I was like, oh my God, Mom, can I get, it was $30. It was an MXR fucking
Distortion Plus.
little
probably.
guy,
Yeah.
Classic.
And I was like, oh, this is going to make it sound so much better. And she's like, oh, good. And we buy it and bring it home. And I was just fucking like, and she was like, I thought you said it was going to make it sound good.
It's distorting the sound.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Well, like when I remember like when I was first taking lessons, I'd go take my lesson. I had a little solid state practice amp, and I'd go home and I'd try to play whatever I learned in my lesson, and there was like endless headroom, and it wouldn't grid up at all, and you just kind of be confused. Why doesn't this sound like the Ozzy record? It doesn't sound right. Like, did you have a similar thing?
I didn't. I know. I never knew anything about that part of it.
Well, you didn't even have any fucking gear.
I didn't even have gear. I didn't have a guitar. I didn't have an amp.
What was the worst moment that you showed up at a Germs show to borrow somebody else's gear and had to get up and play like a whole punk rock set with no gain?
The
or
worst
something?
one, well, that happened all the time, but the worst one was we were playing with X and Billy Zoom's prized 50s silver scratch sparkle, whatever the fuck it's called. And my guitar, I broke it like in the first song. So I'm like, I need Billy Zoom's guitar. And off
you're like,
stage,
"Fuck no."
dude, I found out he was hiding in some closet with his guitar. He's like, keep him away from my fucking guitar. I'm all drunk. Like, I need Billy Zoom's guitar. I think somebody just taped it back together and we were okay.
So maybe is this why there was always so much fucking feedback at Germs gigs? Because you had no pedals, you would just crank the amp to the...
Well, if there was a pedal, I would just step on it and leave it there. And my favorite when I hear old tapes is tuning full volume with pedal on. Like, it's like, I don't even know how my thing's not working. But it's all...
Yeah, but is it? That's the beginning of that song forming.
That's the
isn't
beginning
it?
of every song. It is that.
When did the little stage tuner even become a thing? Like, I didn't even have that when I first started in the late 80s in high school.
That came around then because I remember being at a Celebrity Skin gig and they were playing and they were all pro at this point, and the guy was standing next to me goes, I liked them better before they had tuners. And that's when I first knew what a tuner was. I'm like, oh, or a stage tuner anyways.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your live rigs that you've got nowadays and how that's kind of changed over the
Yeah,
years.
talk about your live rig.
When
Okay,
Should we get Allie in here?
Just a disclaimer. I don't know a fucking thing. I mean, basically, okay, so I used to play, at first I was playing that Marshall. It was like some JCM 900 or something like that. Wait, like first album.
Classic.
That's what I was playing.
right,
Um,
pedals, no pedals.
I really think I only had a Rat pedal and a fucking tuner. I don't think I had any delays or phases or anything yet. I think I just had a Rat pedal. Right. And then eventually the Mesa Boogies came along and it was like dual rectifiers and 412s and that kind of stuff. And then I found one of those Tone Masters at the guitar place on Ventura. The one that fucking...
Oh, yeah.
That's been around for a million years.
Yeah.
Norman's?
Norman's. Yeah.
And he was like, these are great, man. This is like what Aerosmith used like on all of their cool shit. And I was like, cool. And so I got one. I may have gotten two. And I've stuck with them ever since. And the thing is that, I mean, I don't even know what a good guitar sound is. But I do know when I play an old Trini through that, I really have control over what I'm doing. Like, I don't have any volume pedals or anything like that. At this point, I have like, I've got 4 channels of clean to dirty, and then a delay
like a
pedal
custom audio
and a
head up
phase.
there too.
I have no idea. I honestly, I don't know.
I've always known you to have like a pretty straightforward live setup, like not a ton of pedals, just a phaser and a delay and a couple of things.
And I can roll a lot. I mean, that's the thing with the Trini is that they're kind of reactive. I mean, they're dynamic in that like you can make them do.
Leaves a lot in your hands.
It does, and especially when you're running around the stage.
Right.
And I don't have 20 seconds to get back to a pedal board, then I could just roll up and down and just do it in hands. So.
It's interesting, like when I joined the band, that was the late 90s, and that was at the, like I was playing through a dual rectifier, and I think you were playing through a dual rectifier live. But I was surprised to learn that for Nothing Left to Lose, that you had used like the Trini and old vintage AC30s and memory mans, and so you're and high watts, and so your studio thing and your live thing were very different.
Well, I remember having that conversation with my guitar tech at the time. And the justification was basically, listen, if one of those things goes down while we're on the road, we're kind of screwed.
Yes.
And so the rectifiers were really consistent, and you didn't have a lot of problems with them. And if you needed to find another one, they were easy to find.
And they'd send them like that.
Yeah, they'd be out there really quick. So we were just doing that because we were blazing through gigs so much.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I remember I don't remember which tour cycle it was, but there was just a point where like when you got that Tone Master, and I came in with a Friedman and a something else, or an AC30, I forget what it was. And you came in, all of a sudden, it went from that to this completely other tone thing live.
We all had the bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we all seem to have the same epiphany at the same time. Like, let's maybe do something a little different.
Well, also the thing, I think we had gotten to the point where we all had sort of three different sounds and three different duties in the band.
Yes.
And so we all started to focus more on that.
I never had any effect pedals till I joined the band. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Never. Never played with a delay pedal or a flanger or any of that stuff in my life. And when we first started doing those rehearsals and there were songs like Aurora and Generator and stuff that had some color, that was when I had to first kind of learn how to do that.
Well, this is interesting because I think that a lot of what we do comes from the studio.
Right.
So when we go in to record songs, like the basic idea is usually pretty simple, and we'll pull that together, and then we start to color it with different things, different sections of the song, different effects and different tones and things like that. And also the arrangement or composition of the three of us doing what we do, since we don't want to just do the same thing all the time, we eventually learned how to do. I think it took 15, 20 years for us to figure out the recipe or combination of what we do,
Like,
and
I think a lot of it, but tonally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And what about you?
I went for the 5150 when I moved from the thing like the
high gain.
Yeah, and that amp, come on.
Yeah.
And then I've just changed a bunch since.
Is that solid state, that amp?
No.
Oh, I don't even know what that means. Why did I say
that? Although I did have a solid state bass.
You told me, I feel like that Nirvana was the first time you toured when you started playing with them. Is that true?
Yeah.
So what was your rig? Like, did you have to go out and just build a whole new tour?
I remember telling that to our tour manager, and he goes, "Do they know that?"
Right out of the gate. Like gear-wise, though, like, did you have to go build a whole touring rig, or did you have a bunch of stuff? Like, what? Or how did that? Or did you use Kurt's amps, or what did you do?
Kurt stuff, and he gave me some pedals, and they just bought me the exact same amp that he used, and we just because I was there to be Kurt's overdub, so the idea was to sound like Kurt. So I just had the exact same shit, but with different guitars.
And did you sit down and really like work out the parts? I'm going to play this. Oh, we could never do that live, but now you're here, so you do it. Did you sort of do that? Because we kind of did that when I joined Foos, but it was like we rehearsed for 3 days and then went on tour and just kind of figured it out by doing it. And I'm sure that there's still a lot of stuff from those first few albums that I'm doing like my version of that's not the real version, you know?
That's right. No, I just, there's at most 2 parts usually on the song. So I just learned all the parts of all the songs that were there.
And so what's your...
Deep inspection and rehearsal of any Nirvana song never happened. No, I don't think that wasn't like we had a woodshed.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you the funny thing was that there weren't a lot of tuners used on those albums, it seemed like to me, because I'd be retuning my guitar to learn different things. And then I finally figured out, they're all in drop D. So I learned them all in drop D. Then I go up to the rehearsal and we start to play. I forget what it was. I don't remember. We did it. We rehearsed by album. Like, okay, we're doing Bleach today. We're doing Incesticide tomorrow. We're doing, or Bleach and Incesticide. Then we're going to do Nevermind. Then we're going to do In Utero. Kind of happened like that. And I thought they were all in drop D. And Kurt's like, no, it's regular turn. I'm like, are you sure? Because I hear it goes like this. And I'm playing it and he's like, no. So now on the fly, I've got to go, okay. So all out the window. Everything I learned was gone.
And then it was kind of out of tune, and it sounded like Nirvana.
Yeah, there you go.
So what about your live rig today? What's on your pedal board? What are your amps?
I got the Wizard.
Yeah.
And I got this nice pedal board that gives me 1, 2, 3, and 4. See?
Is that your actual pedal board or is that like my rehearsal pedal board and my real pedal board are two very different beasts?
Mine is just
It's Fisher-Price, my first pedal board.
it's basically the same thing, yeah. And then I have a mall clone from Nirvana, because I'm like, well, I'm used to that from Nirvana, so I'll keep one of those. And then I have a phaser and a flanger. And I use the phaser sometimes on one song, and the flanger I always use on Breakout. that's how
Do
much
the whole
pedals I No, just the flange parts. And then that's about it.
So we're double flanging live. I never realized
No,
that.
Are you flanging
Are we like
too?
putting the whole thing out of phase?
Because I'm flanging
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Are we all flanging?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Triple
God.
flanging.
No, that's
That's the
Wow.
sound.
Okay.
That's our
sound.
sound. See,
Yeah.
when we just double it, it goes out of phase. But then when you triple it, it comes
It brings
back
it
into
into
phase.
it. I
guess.
That's
Okay,
right.
cool.
Yeah. You just mentioned drop D tunings, and in the old days, you used to write a lot of songs in not just drop D, but some really trippy tunings that were, when I had to learn those first couple albums, that I remember learning them totally wrong because I didn't know, well, you have to take this string and dip it down here. Where did all that
Did you
stuff
say to
come
Dave,
from?
are you sure?
Yeah, I don't think that's right, dude.
I think that drop D stuff for me came from maybe the Melvins first, when I got really into the Melvins. I don't know if it was anything before that. It's probably the Melvins, and then messing around with dropping the A down to a G and the E down to a C, and then just that's like Weenie Beanie or something.
Right.
Weenie Beanie.
Right. Or I think of like MIA on Nothing Left Lose.
Well, then it got to the point, because when I was doing the older, it just made it easier to make chords for my hands because I don't know how to play. But then, so I was usually going, or like, do you remember that song Podunk? Is that it?
Sounds like it.
Something like that. But then I started really messing around with like
Getting the weird
finding
notes in
chords
there, yeah.
around that, you know. So it just kind of added a.
Well, then you ended up going all the way to drop A.
That was the stacked actress thing. Wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Riff.
I remember that was my first, the first one that I was aware of, massive Foo Fighter blunder. Was it like my second show at the sound check? I'd never had a guitar tuned to a low A on the E string.
Nobody
And I
did.
think, and I had my little thing and I tuned to it, but I tuned to A sharp
Ooh.
and then played the whole song that way.
Wow.
I remember at the end of it, I realized it and you came over and you're like, yeah, hey, don't do that again. Hey, maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't do that ever again.
All right, let's break down some actual parts.
I'm going to A sharp on this one.
Let's talk about, you can do that thing to maybe drop D, because I wanted to talk to you about Hey Johnny Park.
Oh, right.
Because I remember when I bought that record, putting that song on and the big drums come in and then the guitars kick in with like, it's like a guitar solo. And there wasn't a lot of that in your music. And there really wasn't a lot of that even kind of in alt rock at that time.
Right.
And that always jumped out at me. And I was thinking about it last night when I was getting together these questions. I've played that song 8 million times over the years with you. I don't know how you fret it. How do you play that part?
Right. Fuck, I don't remember it. Right.
And is it a little different in the middle section? Is it getting what's all that like? I thought I heard like I thought I heard like there's something like that in there.
You mean
What is the middle section? Yeah.
Yes. I was listening to the recorded version last night, and it sounds like maybe it's like a big muff or something in that part. Do you remember what, for that record, like what guitars were you playing, what amps, what pedals, all that sort of stuff?
I'm sure on that, I was playing through a combination of amps. I think one was an old Marshall. I think another might have been a Hiwatt. I don't remember what we had in there.
The only amp I remember was when you used that smoky cigarette amp. I don't even remember what song it was.
Oh,
but
wow.
you used that on something.
Oh, God, I don't remember.
Was that your stuff?
I think some of it we probably rented. I don't know. I think we may have started with our stuff and then got some better stuff because our stuff didn't sound good.
What was your main go-to guitar back then?
Back then, I was using the Trini a lot.
Oh, you had it even back then?
Yeah, I got the Trini before Foo Fighters. And
I always thought that came in at Nothing Left to Lose. I didn't realize that was there the whole time.
No, that had been around for a while. And I got it at this place called Southworth Guitars in Bethesda, Maryland. And there was a row of like 335s and they were all red. And they all kind of looked the same. And then there was this one with this different headstock and it had these diamond F-holes. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know anything about Trini Lopez. I was just like, oh, I like it because it's not like the other ones. And it turned out great. But yeah, I mean, it's the same one that I've used on fucking everything.
How many Trinis do you have? Like vintage old ones?
Maybe like 5 or 6 of them.
I didn't know if you were the Joe Bonamassa of Trinis.
No.
There is one now.
I'm not the Joe Bonamassa of anything.
I bet Joe Bonamassa is probably the Joe Bonamassa of Trinis.
I think
Right.
you're
Probably
the
has 100 of
Joe Bonamassa of Baffles.
Of baffles. Oh, baffling. Yeah. Anyway, so I think I was using that a lot, the Trini a lot. And then I think I also had that Les Paul that was really cool.
The white one?
Yeah.
There was the
white one, the tobacco verse.
The Tobacco Road, the tobacco one.
Yeah.
You
had that.
I was basically just playing anything anyone put in my hands if it sounded good.
But what did you play on the first record? And did you record the first record in one shot? Like, was it one tone, one guitar bang, or was it over time?
No, we set up all the gear. First day we got there, we set up the drums, set up the bass amp, set up the guitar amp. It was a Marshall. I think it was Barrett's. I had the Les Paul and I had the Trini. And once we got all the sounds, we were like, okay, let's go. and I would do one take on the drums, and then I would go in and double the guitar and pan them, and then put the bass on it, and then move to the next thing. And we would be done with the song in like 45 minutes. So we were trying to get because we only had 5 days. And so we were trying to bang as much into. So we were done by the 3rd day with the guitar stuff, but all the overdubs. Barrett also had this weird petrol can, battery powered, like maybe 8-inch speaker thing, 7-inch speaker. That sounded really awesome. And that was all the really gritty shit. But yeah, it was quick. Yeah. There wasn't really too much time to get like creative with shit. We just kind of did it really fast.
That's interesting. I didn't know that you did it a song at a time. Because for the longest time, we made our records like you did all the drums, then you did all the bass. Then that was sort of the way everybody made records for a while. But then we went back to the song, making a song at a time.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you started there. And then we got back.
It's weird. I mean, that was just out of necessity. But then over time, I think we all realized like it's kind of better to like finish what you started.
And be in it the whole time.
Be in it that whole time. And then instead of coming back to something you did a month ago.
Right.
And trying to,
And then the drummer would do all his stuff and then have nothing to do for the rest of the recording. It was weird. And we'd have nothing to do while he was drumming. And then they'd do that, like a whole day of this. Like, what are you doing? So weird.
What were you playing on Color in the Shape?
I don't remember.
Come on.
I was
an SG or something?
I mean, probably.
You played like a weird, crazy Barney Kessel thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I played Barney Kessel on anything that called for a smoother sound. And I had a Hagstrom Diakisto, which is another hollow body guitar. And I was doing SGs. I wasn't doing... Oh, no, I had a Les Paul. I had that red Les Paul. I don't know. Les Paul, SG, Hagstrom, Kessel, whatever. Who knows?
Never been fussy about the guitar choice.
Because I never had a guitar in the Germs, I'd never care. It's like, give me that one. Like, I could go on stage. I sometimes do. Hey, I bought this guitar this afternoon. Let's play it.
Right.
It's like with beds with us. Do you ever care what bed you're sleeping in? Because we're always sleeping in different beds. So it's just like, who cares? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's funny. I did the same
thing. I'm not saying I
thing.
don't care about the guitar because they're fucking rad, but you know what I mean.
And I hate shitty beds.
I don't care.
I did a similar thing with our latest record. Once we moved over to Greg's, I didn't intentionally do this in the beginning, but then I sort of realized it and stuck to it. I never used any of my guitars on it. No. Not one.
Or amps or any of
because he has you're like, I
shit.
want this or that. He's got it all there, and most of his are better than mine. So, But once I sort of figured that out, I'm like, I'm going to ride this out. I've never done that on an album before, like not used any of my own gear.
Yeah, I brought 2 guitars there and just used that for everything, and the baritone.
Let's talk La Di Da. Your solo on La Di Da.
Does that count as a solo?
It does count as a solo. You always, both of you guys do this thing where you go, I don't play guitar solos. But upon closer examination, that is not exactly true. Ruth and Smear, for example. Many solos on that one that we could go into. But let's talk about La Di Da today. Do you like? I know your influences, and I know the people that you're into guitar playing wise. So I might be projecting it onto here. But
are you projecting Mick Ronson onto that?
I was going to say, are you channeling Mick Ronson, or are you doing like Robert Fripp? Like what were you thinking there?
I am a Mick Ronson guy, not a Robert Fripp guy. I wouldn't say he's the best guitar player ever. I would say that's Steve Howe, but he's the coolest guitar player ever. He played the cool shit. And it's a 1-string. It's just 1 string solo.
I love the lazy bend at the end too. Style points. Yeah.
1 string.
Do you remember
That's all I can do on a solo, 1 string.
Love it. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Do you remember what you played? What guitar, what pedals, what amp?
No.
Do we need to FaceTime Greg Kirsten?
We apologize, everyone. You're used to Chris going in depth with people that know what they're doing.
Just make something up.
Do you remember what guitars you play on what records?
Oh my God, this is not your interview, sir. Hold on, I'm not in the hot seat
I object. Order.
Oh my God, no. No, I don't, oftentimes. I'll tell you something funny, just with a matter of time that we're going to break down in a minute. When you suggested, I started looking up old footage. I didn't remember us ever having played it live and found all this footage of playing us live, but I also didn't remember that we have a video for it. I was like, oh, that's an album cut. I think it's a single.
Was that the album where every song had a video?
Yes, it must have been. We have a video for it.
No, I don't think it's a single because Silva didn't like that song. So I don't think it's not a single.
Okay.
Do you remember this? He's like, I don't want that song on the record.
Why?
I don't know. He didn't like it.
Huh.
I don't remember that at all.
He thought it was too run-of-the-mill Foo Fighters.
Right.
It's just so... You don't need that.
Yeah, it's nice when your manager just tells you, oh, God, it sounds like you guys.
You're like, wait, is that not a compliment?
Was he wrong?
Okay.
I mean, did we play it?
I don't know. We're still talking about it.
Well, we definitely played it live, and after watching us play it, the footage I saw, I was like, that needs to come back.
I feel like that might have been the album where every song had a video.
It could have been.
Remember that one? It was a contest or something?
Yeah.
Was
this video sucks.
Yeah.
Oh.
But this video sucks. This video sucks. This video sucks.
We've been a band for so long that, that's the testament to it right there that I can't remember.
Well, when you were saying we need to break down
done.
a song, my first thought was we should do Keep It Clean. Why aren't we breaking down Keep It Clean?
Oh, shit.
Deep cut.
That's the deepest
Maybe
of all
a deeper cut than the fans want. I laugh about thinking about, when I joined the band, you said, oh, you're going to need more than one guitar. And you took me shopping. This is day 2 of being in the Foo Fighters. Talk about dream come true. I mean, think about this. Day 2 of being in the Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl says you're going to need more guitars. Let's go get you some guitars tomorrow. So we drive over before rehearsal to Voltage. They used to be over there off Sunset and whatever the one that was around the corner. These shops that I had been going to since I was a fucking little kid and being yelled at, don't touch that, or whatever. And now I walk in there and I've got Dave Grohl with me with his fucking AmEx. And we're going shopping and he's going, get whatever you want. And I was so freaked out. I mean, I've literally been in the band for 48 hours or something. I couldn't even fucking think straight. It's like, I'll just take that and that. And luckily I got 2 guitars that are fucking amazing, that are great. But I laugh about it now. It'd be a very different shopping spree today. I didn't know anything about what's the difference between a 59 and a 60.
I wouldn't be buying
We'd be taking your credit card. That's
buy your own fucking guitar.
You'd be getting an angry call from your business manager later. Somebody's trying to buy 3 59 bursts with it. What is going on?
So I just had the one guitar, the Hagstrom, and then I started being in bands again. And then I was playing with Nina Hagen, and she had a musical director, and they were snobs, and they hated that there was a fucking punk rocker in their band. They hated it so much. I mean, she didn't, but the band did. And they're like, you need to get a good guitar. So I end up buying this Charvel. This is 19, whatever.
A good guitar.
82. A good guitar. It was gorgeous. I mean, this thing, oh God, it was so pretty. Anyways, so I thought, okay, now I have a good guitar and not my shitty Hagstrom that I always play. So we're doing my first ever gig with Nirvana, Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, well, I better play my good guitar. I'm going to play my Charvel. And what I didn't know at the time, but I don't even know if you were involved, but there was a discussion about me and that guitar. No. We can't let him on stage with this guitar with us. And I didn't even know.
That is the wrong guitar for that era.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, well, I want to play my Hagstrom, but they're professional musicians. They don't want me playing my Hagstrom up here. I'll play my Charvel. Anyways, Kurt ended up giving me this rad fucking guitar for instead, which is...
Not a Charvel.
Not a Charvel. And I didn't play it. And I gave that guitar, when we played with her on Saturday, it's a SNL full circle. When we played with her, I noticed she was playing a Charvel. I'm like, you like Charvels? She goes, yeah. And I go, I have the perfect guitar for you. And I sent her that guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did she play it at the Super Bowl?
Well, I didn't know she played at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Why would it be watching sports? How would I know?
I'll send you the clip. Should we break down some rhythms now?
Yes.
Because, being a 3-guitar band, that's anytime I do a guitar interview, people always ask, How do you guys figure out who plays what and orchestrate it? And I always say, we used to, when you first came back, it seemed like we thought about that a lot. And nowadays we just seem to kind of fall into it when we're making records. So what should we do to illustrate?
I was thinking about this earlier because we were talking about that song, A Matter of Time, is that it's kind of drum related, the way it works. So if you imagine playing a normal sort of 4/4 beat with two hands and one foot, you've got one hand that's doing like the eighth notes. And then you've got your left hand that's doing the twos and the fours, and you've got your kick drums that's doing the ones and the threes. So if you think of the way that we play together, each one of us is a different element of that thing.
Yes.
So you are typically the right hand that's doing this thing. I'm typically the twos and the fours, and you're kind of on the ones.
Weird.
So if you put those things together, and this might ruin it forever for us now that we're going to think about it,
Yeah, right.
but it's kind of that way. Like,
Right.
I'm trying to think of good examples. Like rope is kind of a cool one.
Yeah.
Because you're doing that with the delay thing on it.
Oh, right.
Turn that delay on.
So that's basically it. So it's like you're going
Right.
and I'm going things like that.
When you're writing, I mean, are you sort of like, is that conscious for you when you're writing these parts? I know so much of like the riffs and stuff that we do are these kind of intricate rhythms working on, and obviously as a drummer,
Yeah.
you know, that's in there. But do you think about that, or do you just do that?
I think it begins with the simple riff first, just like My Hero would be. So just to kind of have some movement over.
Miss the pedals.
Because I almost consider like what I do. Okay, so here's the way I look at it. Say you're the right hand and you're the top movement of stuff. And then I'm sort of like the body of the rhythm riff. And then Pat is there to fill out like lower accents. So it's kind of like low, mid, high. And so
It's interesting that you put it that way, because that's kind of where our tones sit too. When we talk about how we all kind of find like yours is more saturated, yours is a little more classic PAF, and a lot of the time these days I'm playing these things, these P9, you know what I mean? And so with maybe like some shimmery delay or something, so that translates there too.
Yeah.
Breaking it down. Weird.
I know. I'm trying to think of other songs.
I think that pre-chorus of A Matter of Time, I think that illustrates, because that song illustrates it really well to me, because you've got us all doing different things, but then you've also, there are times in our band where we want to all be hammering the same power chord, and it's got that too. It sort of goes between the two of them.
crazy
It's worth
thing,
noting we haven't played that for a while.
I know, that's the first time we've done this in 10 fucking years. But okay, so do the pre-chorus thing again, because there's one more guitar on the record that we never did live.
Yes.
It's
kind of like a herky-jerky
It's really
thing.
cool. It was my favorite one. That's what I wanted to do live, but I couldn't do it while singing. So do the pre-chorus thing, just the fucking, that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It was so right. So you're going. It's like you're going. You're following that kick drum shit. And then this thing that I was doing on the record, I was going.
Yes.
On the record, it sounds really cool, but I don't think we ever did it live.
Yeah, no, that's so funny because I was trying to figure out what that part was, and I was watching the live footage, and no one was doing it.
Oh.
I was going, I can see your hands. Nobody's doing it.
Somebody should do that.
I don't remember the chords. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a good example of like the three guitars doing something different.
Yeah.
And then coming together for that big fucking...
Or even like the big riff off the top, though.
Bop, bop, bop. Oh, that's right. Then you sit out, right? You just did the fucking...
And that, kids, is the keys, the secret sauce to the Foo Fighter formula. Perfect. One last question. Thank you guys, for doing this. This is amazing.
Come on.
This is gonna be a fantastic season premiere. I can't believe we're really doing this. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, season 2 right here. Last question. I always ask them every guest this: what's your guitar store lick? What do you play when you walk into Guitar Center, pick up a guitar you've never held in your life to put it through its paces and see what it does?
I'm like, this thing. I do that.
Perfect.
Stairway.
And that's why I'm buying a 59 burst and a 58 Carina.
You know what? Actually, I really do. Like, if it's an acoustic thing, I'll fucking go like.
I knew it was going to be that.
Yeah,
I knew it was going to be that.
Yeah, I don't play them. I just go by the looks. I'm like, ooh.
Didn't you used to like take pictures with them just to see, like, bring a Polaroid?
I don't know if I did that to buy them, but I did it for shows, for sure. Like, ooh, what guitar should I wear with this outfit? I think it was more like that. I don't remember. Maybe I did.
My favorite guitar shopping moment with you was when we were making the last album, and we were sitting there, and we ran over to Guitar Center.
Chicago.
No, This was in Hollywood, California. And we ran over to the Rock and Roll Guitar Center, and we went into the vintage room, and we're looking at guitars.
Was Bonamassa there taking apart a Strat?
Yes. Yes. But the part that always sticks in my head is there was like a 1997 Les Paul on the thing that called it vintage.
Yeah.
Vintage Les Paul. I was like, what?
Really?
God, how fucking vintage are we?
Yeah, I was like, well, that was 10 years ago. Yeah. And then actually, it was a little bit longer than that. I like Joe Bonamassa.
I think we're just used.
Yeah, exactly. We're
Pre-owned.
Pre-owned.
Joe Bonamassa sitting there at the desk with some Strat they had there, completely taking it apart. And I'm like, is that yours? And he's like, no, I'm just taking it out. I'm like, you took the whole thing apart.
That's how he shops for guitars?
He goes, yeah, I need to know what it is. I'm like, oh my God, you can do that? I'm like, well, he can do that.
Imagine going on a date with that guy.
I asked him that question when I interviewed him, and he was like, I don't even need to play him. I know. Because it's going to sound like me when I play it.
But he needs to take it apart.
There you go. All right, get into the guts. All right, boys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Chris.
This has been amazing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah, I think we covered it. How long were we going for there, Jim Rhoda? It's got to be like an hour or something.
He has to text the guy in the other room.
Yeah.
Did it work?
What does the clock
Did we actually
say?
capture it, or do we have to do the whole thing again next week?
I've been checking in with Jeff.
Yes, that was Dave Grohl and Pat Smear right here on Shred with Shifty. Amazing, right? You've never heard them talk guitar like that. Come on, admit it. Real quick, I got to thank Jim Rhoda and Matt Dijon for scrambling some cameras on short notice to help make this thing happen. Thanks, boys. I appreciate you. And we will be back next time with Keith Urban. I'm sorry, we will be back next time with country music superstar Keith Urban. All right, adios, amigos.
1, 2, 3.
Shred with Shifty is created and hosted by me, Chris Shiflett, and produced in partnership with Double Elvis, Volume.com, and Premier Guitar. Shred with Shifty is produced by my long-suffering friend, Jason Shadrick. Our executive producers are Brady Sadler and Jake Brennan for Double Elvis. Our video editor is Addison Savan. Graphic design by Megan Prawley. Engineering support by Matt Tahaney and Matt Bowden. Special thanks to Chris Peterson, Jamie Demas, Greg Necrone, Ben Holst, John Romero, and the entire Volume.com crew. Fuck you, incels.